The third video for rate demand notice continues with the detailed calculations that you see for the assessment, shown here in the green highlight area. We'll demonstrate how that's carried out in just 3 steps. Don't forget your calculator so you can follow along. We saw in the last video how the measurement of rateable surface area arrived at 3,527.6 square feet. We now reduce that to what are called surface area value points. The points are a simple calculation of square root. So 3,527.6 square feet is reduced to 59.39 points as its square root. I'll show you how that's calculated. Here we are. There's 3,527.6 reduced to a square root here, 59.39. So here you can see, and you should be able to calculate that on your own calculator to arrive at a surface area value in points at 59.39. Now the second step is to use a base value, what we call a base value. And that applies to all Freetown property types and is a precise figure of 231,859 points per square foot. The figure is derived from a rent survey of 2,000 homes carried out by Sierra Leone valuation experts. The valuation was done earlier in 2020. So multiplying the surface area of 59.39 by the base value per unit of 231,859.13 equals initial assessed annual value of nearly 13.7 or 13.8 million points. We'll do the calculation here. We've got the surface area value times 231,859.13, and there we have the figure. It's a little bit small for you to read, but it's 13.78 million. So multiplying the surface area points of 59.39 by the base value of 231 is the initial annual value. And it represents a typical building value for a large house of 3,527 square feet, and it's called the initial assessed value. Now stay with this, since there's only one more step to the assessment, and this is the most interesting. The third step now looks at the various features of the building and awards an adjustment upwards for attractive features and downwards for inferior features. The percentage award affects the initial assessed value of nearly 13.8 million points. The Lady Hall property is considered slightly better than an average house, and it's awarded, as you can see here, an adjustment upwards of 2.52%. We'll take a look at that in the computer screen here. Here you can see that this is the source of the rate demand notice. You can see the same set of calculations carried out here on the computer screen. On the left side of the screen, you can see all of the features that have been noted when the enumerator came to observe the building. You can see, for example, that street access for the Lady Hall property is difficult. And clearly this affects value. The assessment considers that typically someone would pay 7% less because of poor street access. Again, this is from the expert Freetown rent survey of 2,000 buildings. And it makes sense. Most people would pay less for a house that is difficult to access. So by taking all of these adjustments together, this example house at Lady Hall street is 2.524% better than a typical house. And that percentage is added to find the assessed annual value of 14.11 million points. So we'll do that little calculation. So we have our 13.77 million on the calculator, and we add 2.524% equals, and the result confirms that the computer is correct, 14,118,581. So now, to show you the sensitivity of the assessment. If, say, the street access was classed as easy, for example, this street access here, then instead of difficult, let's see what happens. Let's see if the assessment was easy. We can see that the adjustment has risen from 2.5% to 10.4%, roughly 7% better. So let's change that back to difficult, and you'll see this changes back immediately to the proper adjustment. Similarly, let's say that drainage. There was drainage on the streets. At Lady Hall Street, there's no drains there, so nonetheless, let's if there were drains there, then that would make the adjustment 2% more. So the adjustment is reaching 4.57% in that instance. Let's change that back to what it was. And you can see all of these features here. If the wall structure was wood, that would be minus 28%, and the adjustments would be down. But it's not a wood structure, it is a masonry structure. And as a result, you can see all of the features here that are considered in valuing the property. In particular, the location of a ward. So the rent survey also looks at different wards and the different values in different wards. So you can see that in, for example, in 409, which I happen to know is in Portee, that's a poorer district, and the values there are reduced by 9%. But if you go to the West End, where you might find a ward 444, I believe, that's here, you can see that the adjustment is well up, and that's 98%, because in the West ward values are much higher. So by that method, you can see that the rates that are applied are all automated and all interactive. So let's go back to our rate demand notice, and we can see that our initial assessed value at 13.77 million is adjusted upwards. So you can see why now at 2.52%. That equals the 14.118 million. That's the conclusion of the assessment, except to say that if anyone wants to inquire about the assessment or the features of their particular property, then please visit the inquiry desk at the Freetown City Council. Or you can call the phone numbers indicated at the rear of the notice. Where is that? That's just here, isn't it? So moving lastly to the blue area of the rate demand notice. This is where the council applies its uniform rate for all domestic properties at 3% to represent the amount of leones that are to be paid. So again, we can take our little calculator. We have our 14.11 million leone, and we multiply by 3%, and we get 423,555, but the rate demand notice rounds that down to 423,000. 1,000 Lyon. We've applied 3% because that's what Council has prescribed for the rate for all commercial properties. For commercial properties, they pay a slightly higher rate of 4%, while institutional properties that are largely government they have a mill rate of 2%. So that's the complete set of calculations, and hopefully you've been following along. All buildings in Freetown are assessed and taxed in the same way. What's demonstrated here in this video is a fair and transparent system where taxpayers are subject to precisely the same automated process. No exceptions. In the next video of this series, you'll see additional efforts at transparency available by the publication of a rate book where all properties are shown. Also to be explained is the operation of the inquiries and appeals desk, as well as different payment options. Well, thanks for watching so far.